Good morning, friends. Let us start a new standard chapter, that is the 11th standard biology. My name is Hardik Patel. We'll be starting with the first chapter of the 11th standard, that is the living world. Now, in this chapter, what we shall study, children? We shall study about the living organism. What is the difference between the living and the non-living? Also, we shall seek about what are the parameters that distinguish the living and the non-living. Apart from that, we'll also study the various hierarchical classification of an organism to be classified. And moreover, we shall also seek answer to the what are the rules by which the organism name is being given scientifically. That is the nomenclature, we can say. Now let us first of all look ourselves around the nearby surroundings. You will see n number of organisms or n number of species and the various physical surroundings like rivers, mountains, places, buildings, trees, all those things. And of course the humans, they are being surrounded by each and every other organisms also, and the different species and the animals as well. But it is interesting to know that what in this living world that differentiates the two things, that is the living and the non-living organism. Now, but the basic question that comes in front of us is that what is the difference between the living and the non-living? That is, difference between and apart from that, what is the purpose of life, we can say. Now, we can find the answer of this first statement, that is the difference between living and non-living. The next one is the philosophical one, so we will not go into the next one. We shall find the answer of this first one, children. Now, there are various, we can say, life processes being associated with all the organisms. Now, in standard 10th, we all have studied the different life processes. Now, what are the different life processes? That is the reproduction, then the growth, then the metabolism, then the movement, or that is the control and coordination, and other various life processes like the nutrition, respiration. So all are the different, we can say, life processes. So they are the what? Different life processes. Now, if we want to differentiate between the living and the non-living organism, children, so the first parameter that I wish to take over here is the reproduction, children. Now, reproduction means what? That we all have studied in the 10th standard, children, but let us revise. Now, reproduction meaning what, children? Reproduction means is the process by which new organism are being produced from the parents. Now, we have studied about the types of reproduction, that is the asexual and the sexual reproduction in the 10th standard. But now, actually, if you want to look beyond the different perspective of the definition of the reproduction, it is also defined as, that is, growth in mass and number of individuals. It is known as what, children? The reproduction also. But over here, we have seen the animals, we have seen the, we can say, other organisms that they produce with each other, we can say. Okay. Now, so apart from that, we shall also see an explanation to the various unicellular organisms. Now over here, if I talk about the unicellular organism like the yeast, and the, we can say, mushroom, they both reproduce by the process of, we can say, that is the spores. On the other hand, that is the hydra, they produce by the process of what, children? That is the fragmentation. Even if we talk about the amoeba and the other bacteria, they produce by the which process, children? That is the fission. Now, to this extent, we know that the organism reproduce. That is, if you want to how reproduction occurs at the molecular level, just see the number of cells in the slides or in the microscope. You will see that the number increases in a minute or so, or in few seconds also. In this way, we can come to know that the individuals or the living organism, they exhibit the property of what, children? The reproduction. But on the other hand, the non-living organisms also, they do not reproduce, but they increase in their number. Like we can say, suppose you take a sand dunes or anything, they increase in the mass number, we can say, or a mountain or a peak of sand, handful of sand, we can say, they increase. Now this increase in the number or the mass is also called the reproduction. So now my question is to you people, can we consider this non-living organism living one? Or can reproduction be considered as a factor for exhibiting the property of distinguishing a living and the non-living children? The answer would be no. Now look at the other side of the story, children. That is, a sterile man, a sterile human beings, a sterile flower, or a sterile, we can say, animals, they do not reproduce because they have lost the capability to reproduce, we can say. So on the other hand, will the organism reproduce, children? No. So can I say that the living organisms are not considered to be non-living if they do not want to produce or they are incapability to produce the young ones? The answer will be absolutely no, children. So in that case, reproduction cannot be considered as a factor for distinguishing a living organism and the non-living organism, children. Okay. Now the next one, that is known as the growth. Now growth is defined as the increase in mass and number of individuals will lead to what class? The growth. Now growth can be anything, children. Like we people also grow, like the human beings, that we are a small kid, then we become the teenage, then we become the adult, then the man, and the later on the later development of our human beings takes place. So in that case, we do increase in the what class? Age, but we do not increase in the number of mass. Yeah, we do increase in the number of mass, but to some certain stage and to some certain extent. After that, we do not increase. Like, say an example, we increase in the height, but that increase in the height is only for a limited period only. After that, the organism does not exhibit that type of growth. Yeah, they do grow in the terms of the weight and the mass, we can say. But should we consider this factor as the responsible factor for difference between living and non-living? The answer will be no, children. But on the other hand, if you take the example of the rock particles, the increase in the sand dunes, the increase in the number of the objects and the masses, they would be increase in masses. So can we consider that this organism, we can say they are considered to be living? No, they are not. And so for this reason, growth is also not considered as the factor for, we can say, the distinguished property between the living and the non-living children. Okay. Now, the next one, that is known as the metabolism. That is the metabolism. Now, see, if you talk about all the living organism, we can say, so all these organism, like maybe a unicellular organism, or we can say multicellular organism. All these organisms, they have the cell. Now we all know that cell is what? That is the structural and functional unit of the life. That is the structural and functional unit of life. Now on the other hand, the thing is that, why I am referring structural and functional unit? Because cell is made up of some structure. Structures meaning it is made up of the cell membrane, nucleus and the cytoplasm. And functional unit meaning it is having the functional property of metabolism. That is, all the chemical reactions which are there or going in the body of an organism is said to be known as the what class? Metabolism. Now, coming on to the structural part. Structural meaning the cell is made up of something. What something, children? That is the structural unit. Now that structural units includes the proteins, lipids, fats and all the other molecules, we can say. Now all these molecules and the other constituent, they make up the structural part of the cell, we can say. But on the other hand, the non-living organisms, they are also made up of some of the other structures, we can say. But the main distinguished property that creates a difference between the living and the non-living is the functional unit. That is known as the metabolism, children. Now, when I am talking about the metabolism, it is being defined as the sum total of all the reactions carried out in the body is known as what, children? Metabolism. So it is known as what, children? Sum total of all the chemical reactions in the body is called metabolism. So we can say that metabolism is the short unit or the factors which can be considered between a living and the non-living. Now non-living, they do not have any metabolism occurring in their body, no. And how do we come to know that? By the property of the response and the stimuli. Like if you do pinch me, I'll have some sensation going into my body or into my nerves, we can say. But what if I do touch a wooden object or any other metal object? They will not be able to feel that sensation. So it is that consciousness that leads to the distinguished property of what, children? The living and the non-living children. Okay. Now let us talk about this response and the stimuli in little children. I hope you are clear with all the topics, children, so that it will be very easy for you to learn and read the chapter. And this chapter, it is very easy, children. Now, response and the stimuli. Now, response or stimuli, first of all, we'll talk about stimuli, meaning any change in the environment of the organism due to its surroundings or we can say not environment, that is any change in the behavior of the organism due to its surroundings. It is known as what class? Stimuli. Like you are walking on a road and a peel of banana comes in front of you. What do you do, children? You either throw it into the dustbin or you surpass by the peel of the banana, children. So that is the stimuli. But the way you reacted is known as the what class? Response. That is the way by which an organism changes to stimuli. It is known as what, children? Response. Now, plants, animals and human beings, these three organisms, they respond to this stimuli. Now, animals, we don't know how they do respond. Like if a dog comes in front of you, either you run away or you make him run away. That is, they exhibit, we are the stimuli and the dog is what, children? Over here is the response. That is, he exhibited by, seeing us. So we can say humans and the dog, we can say. So the dog, by seeing, that is the what class? Stimuli for him. And the way he reacted, is the what, children? The response, we can say. Now, plants, they exhibit the response to the stimuli by the process of photoperiods, we can say. Now, photoperiods meaning what? That I'll explain you in a brief, children. Photoperiod is nothing but the availability of the sunlight, the water, the minerals, the nutrients by which the plant take in and they synthesize their food, we can say. That is by the process of photosynthesis. Now, the thing is that all plants do not have the same photoperiod. And what are the plants they respond to these photoperiods? They respond to the gravity, water, then the sunlight and the chemical and the touch. So these are the 5 parameters by which the plants responds, and with this thing they also differ from the non-living to the living, we can say. As we all know, animals and human beings, they do differ from the living and the non-living that we have already discussed, children. So there are 2 things that we have learned in this lecture. That is the first one, that is the metabolism, which is a short defining property that is differentiating between the living and non-living. And the other one, that is the response to stimuli or the consciousness, which leads to the defining property of living and the non-living, children. I hope you have enjoyed this lecture, children, and you have come to a conclusion that how do we define or differentiate between a living and the non-living organism, children. Thank you. Stay home, stay safe.